everybody.
Hi, friends. Well, it's beginning to look a lot like Salt Lake City, Utah.
It's Thank God I'm Atheist,
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, Dan, boy, it's so sad. This time of year just brings out the worst in us atheists.
Oh, we're
the worst.
Well, I'll tell you what. I have a pretty nasty cold right now, so
no.
I am a miserable atheist in the Christmas season. But I don't think that's what Bill Donahue is talking about.
No, Bill Donahue of the Catholic League.
Right. I'm pretty sure he is the Catholic League. Like he just started an LLC and it's just him.
Give yourself a good name and be a blowhard and maybe you'll get some attention. Yeah. All right. Well, we got some stories. Some things happened this week.
Yes, sir.
Including the release of the result of a study by some researchers at the it's Ohio University, where they were the lead author and PhD candidate Colleen Gowil. She was interested in how atheists respond to negative stereotypes about atheists. Okay, and so she set up a study where she did that. It was a version of the dictator game, which I guess is a kind of psychology test thing where one person, there's two participants, right? And one person has no power they're asked to share monetary rewards, right? And one person has no power in deciding. The other person has all the power, right?
Sure.
And when atheists were told of their partner's religious beliefs, they behaved impartially toward in-group and out-group partners, which is interesting.
Oh, wow. Regardless of what the groups were.
Yeah, didn't matter if they were religious or atheists. They just acted fairly.
Behaved the same.
Yeah. And so they would divvy up the money. However, Christians consistently demonstrated in-group bias. So they would not divide the money up fairly between the participants. If you can possibly imagine that.
I feel shocked and never ever would have seen that coming. It doesn't confirm exactly what we would have thought about atheists and Christians at all.
But I mean, think about that. You're sitting there like face to face with someone, right?
Yeah.
And you're given a reward of money and you're asked to share the money with the other person.
Yeah.
Right there, face to face, you have the gall to not divvy up the money fairly.
I love your outrage on this.
I just can't imagine being in that situation and not feeling intense pressure almost to give the other person more. Right? Just like, oh, well, yeah, there you go.
Here's the thing. The only thing about this that does surprise me is that it a little surprises me that atheists aren't every bit as tribal as Christians, because it just seems like such a human thing to be tribal in that way. You know what I mean? To be in-group oriented. Yeah. I'm very proud that we're not as a group.
Well,
but it almost surprises me that we're not, and I love hearing about it. I think it's amazing.
Let's push pause on that thought. So one of the things that she was interested in was the fact that, she says, we often see that negative stereotypes about a group can lead members of that group to behave in compensatory ways that ostensibly seek to disconfirm that stereotype. Such as when American immigrants strive to emphasize their American identity when it is threatened. Right. We found in multiple studies that our atheist participants behaved more fairly toward partners they believed were Christians than our Christians participants behaved toward partners they believed to be atheists. Right. We already talked about that. And so they didn't really get to the root of whether the atheists were trying to compensate, right. For and show, hey, that I'm being really good, right? I know that
Right.
you know that I'm an atheist and you're a judgmental Christian. So therefore, right. Like,
I mean,
I'm trying to show you how good I am.
there is something delightful in that. Like, I can see me as an atheist delighting, because it's not like it's going to be a life-changing amount of money.
Right.
Just delighting in, sort of messing with that stereotype in the head of a Christian. Oh, you know what? You take it all. I don't need it. I'm fine.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Just so that they're like, but dang, man, he was an atheist. I don't know what's going on.
He just blew my mind. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know how much we can read into it, but as far as a headline, which was on this article, atheists are nicer to Christians than Christians are to atheists. I'll take it. Right. I love it as a headline. So
yeah, it's and it's obviously true. Anyone who's listened to more than 2 episodes of this show knows that that's true. All right, I'm gonna move on to the Vatican.
All right,
where we talked about this. It seemed like such a nothing thing, but the Pope recently allowed for Catholic priests to bless same-sex marriages.
Right.
Not to bless their marriages. I retract what I just said. The opposite. To bless same-sex couples.
Right.
So this isn't a blessing of their marriage. It is a blessing of the couple.
Right.
Which should be a no-brainer. You're just saying, I hope these people are, I hope good things happen to these people. But as we'll learn later, nobody hopes good things happen to people that aren't in their tribe that they don't like. This was actually a reversal of a 2021 policy where the Vatican's doctrine office basically they literally said that God, quote, does not and cannot bless sin.
Right. What about sinners?
Right, exactly. That's the point. God blesses sinners all the goddamn time in your stupid church. Like, every time you bless a person by your own profession, you bless sinners.
Right.
Like, that is what you do. So shut the hell up.
Right.
But
and of course, we're not saying gays are sinners here. Right.
I'm saying every gay that I know is definitely a sinner.
Okay.
But the gayness is not the
sin. But so are you straights. So
100%. Anyway, Pope Francis recently said, hey, go ahead and bless same-sex couples. That's cute. Everybody fell the fuck apart, of course. There was one article that I read about it that was the headline was, activists hope Pope's approval of same-sex blessings could ease anti-LGBTQ bias, and then they go to somebody in Zimbabwe, and who basically said, "Yeah, no."
If anything, this is going to make it worse, guys.
That's not going to ease jack shit. They just hate gay people way too much here.
If nothing else, the short term looks worse for us at this point.
Yeah, it's not great for gay people in Africa.
Jesus Christ.
In general.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Pope now this week had a gay. Yeah, I guess he calls all of the Vatican people, the hierarchy, into a little meeting, to a little whatever.
Okay.
And so he had one of these meetings where he's talking to all of the Vatican people, and he basically here's what he said, and let's see if we can hear any unspoken context here. He said he didn't mention the blessing of gay people, but he said, "Let us remain vigilant against rigid ideological positions that often, under the guise of good intentions, separate us from reality and prevent us from moving forward."
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
We are called instead to set out and journey like the Magi, following the light that always desires to lead us on, at times along unexplored paths and new roads.
Oh, as the Magi.
Yeah. I mean, listen, he has been, in my mind, a coward about it, but he is definitely laying groundwork here.
Yeah. Well, and then also like the whole fact that he's acting like a mafia don lately, just kicking people out and firing and whatnot. Like he seems to be claiming control. And I wonder if in some ways he wasn't through all of this. I mean, you're condemning him and saying he was a coward, but I mean, I watched The Young Pope. I know how hard it has to be to like, just come in and start changing everything. Right. Like
terrifying. It's so hard.
And so like he had to get his people installed and be surrounded and start purging. He's been purging people, Dan, so that he can do stuff like this.
It's been 10 years and he don't got another 10 in him.
Well, maybe he's starting to respond to that. I don't know.
Right? He's like, oh crap, I'm getting too old. I got to get this done. Enough groundwork laying. Let's start doing something.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
we'll see.
Interestingly, Dan, my next story is also from the Vatican. It involves actually a Vatican tribunal that this last week convicted a cardinal of embezzlement and sentenced him to 5.5 years in prison. This is apparently, it's Cardinal Angelo Becciu. He's the first cardinal ever prosecuted by the Vatican Criminal Court. And it was a 2.5 year trial. We actually talked about this, presumably 2.5 years ago, about this like London development.
Yeah.
That was just a mess, just filled with claims of embezzlement. And
as I recall, he was investing like charity money that was literally earmarked to go to charity to help like poverty people, people in need. And he was like, the best thing we could do with this is probably a real estate scheme.
Right. Wherein there was an original investment of 200 million euros into a fund that bought into the London property. And then there was also 125,000 euros that were donated to a charity run by his brother that felt suspicious to some. And then there was like 575,000 euro that he paid to some intelligence officer who was supposed, this is amazing. Let's see, Cecilia Morogna, an intelligence officer who, let's see, he transferred money from the Vatican to a Slovenian front company owned by Morogna, and said and then she used the money to buy luxury goods and fund vacations. Or these were the accusations. Becciu said he thought the money was going to pay a British security firm to negotiate the release of Gloria Neves, a Colombian nun taken hostage by Islamic militants in Mali in 2017. He said Francis authorized up to 1 million euros to liberate the nun.
What?
An astonishing claim that the Vatican was willing to make ransom payment to an Al-Qaeda linked group.
Yeah. Are you serious?
Well, this is what he's saying. This is part of his defense.
He's literally just announcing, hey, kidnap a nun.
Yeah, no kidding.
The payoff is huge.
Well, and that they would pay money to like an Al-Qaeda group is just like insane. Anyway, this is seen as like a huge win for the Pope. We were just talking about how he's been trying to clean up things. Yeah. However, some legal observers don't have a lot of faith in the Vatican judicial system, that like that these courts are not actually impartial, I guess you could say, right? Let's see. It says the trial has raised questions about the rule of law in the Vatican and Francis's power as absolute monarch, given that he wields supreme legislative, executive, and judicial authority and has exercised it in ways the defense says jeopardized a fair trial. Let's see.
What you're telling me you can't get a fair trial in a country with a population of like 800 people, all of whom belong to the same organization?
Yeah.
Weird.
There were a number of people also found guilty and sentenced to jail time. It's not clear where they will serve their jail time, even though
that's what I was going to ask. Like, what?
Yeah.
Does the Vatican have?
They have a jail, apparently. But I can only imagine it's like just so cute, right? Like just like what kind of jail cell is it like a basement, like dungeon of some kind, or is it like a nice little, a cell like that a priest might sleep in, right?
But I'll tell you what, they have the most jauntily dressed guards of any prison in the world. Imagine
what the inmate uniforms are like.
They're fancy.
Polka dots and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean,
they look like court jesters. Is what they're forced to dress up as.
Yeah, they have to wear knockoff Ferragamo shoes.
They don't get the real ones.
Okay. I have bad news, Frank.
No.
It's genuinely bad.
Okay.
Do you remember a couple weeks ago we talked about St. Mary's College?
Yeah.
The famous Catholic college located in Notre Dame, Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
The other one. And the fact that they are a women's college who, though Catholic in affiliation, was going to allow trans women to attend.
Yeah.
It was a good choice. It was a controversial choice, but they were doing it. Not anymore.
Oh, no.
They have reversed their decision after a bunch of Catholics apparently just got all kinds of uptight about it.
Of course they did. Of course they did. Yeah.
Which is so dumb. But okay. I mean, here's the thing. They shouldn't have done this. They shouldn't have tried. If they should, my feeling is they knew it was coming. If they weren't prepared for this firestorm, they shouldn't have tried.
That's true. That's true.
There's no possible way they couldn't have predicted this. This is literally the most predictable thing that has ever happened.
They say naively thought that doing the right thing would go over well.
Or that there would be like a couple of like sternly worded letters and that would be the end of it or whatever. Are you fucking serious? If you weren't ready for like the sky to fall on you,
yeah,
which is the most obvious thing in the universe.
Sure, yeah.
And you weren't prepared to stick to your guns about it. Don't do shit like this. Don't make yourself look bad and like make it worse for trans people.
Right.
Because that's all this did was just make it worse to, what you've done is exposed more hatred. And then in so doing capitulated to
and then
it.
Caved to it. Yeah. Because it's one thing to expose it. Often exposing it is really important, right?
Yeah.
Like seeing it. But you're right. If it's followed by just caving in to the hatred, and the people who are doing it,
then fuck all the way off.
Yeah. That's kind of bullshit. And you're right. That is more hurtful or just hurtful in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that sucks, Dan.
Yep.
Probably foreseeable.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You mean
the caving, even the caving.
The reversal is foreseeable. I mean, it's just
I'm surprised at the speed. Actually, that's the only thing that surprises me. Is that they didn't even really try.
Yeah. No. They definitely did not.
They just were like, oh shit. Oh,
Wait, you guys don't like that? Oh, I'm sorry.
Coming crashing down around us. Okay. All right.
Oh,
Our bad. Our bad.
my bad.
Sorry, guys.
I mean, we were just floating it. It was just a thought.
Yeah, whatever. All right.
Assholes.
Oh, speaking of assholes.
Sure. We do that a lot here.
Lindsey Graham.
Oh, he is an asshole.
He is an asshole. He has declared war on New York State. Dan,
oh God.
Because there's the New York State is considering a bill that would require some this is how the article goes, handles the topics. I'm just going to go with how they're describing it. They would require some Chick-fil-A restaurants to operate on Sundays.
Uh-oh.
This is war, he says on X, formerly Twitter. He's threatening to introduce legislation that would withhold federal funds from cities or states that require fast food chains to stay open on Sundays.
Why are they trying to require this? I don't understand where the requirement
because
comes
it's
from.
like immediately I was like, this is what? No. This is not how Lindsey Graham is presenting it. Like, not even close, right? So New York actually has an interest in keeping some restaurants open on Sundays because those restaurants are situated in state highway rest areas.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
You know, these little roadside, you get some gas. There's sometimes a McDonald's or a Burger King or whatever. Well,
and you need to have services like that for travelers.
For travelers. Right. And so they're saying that they would want any future restaurants. They're not even saying all existing restaurants that are currently in rest stops need to open on Sundays, because apparently there must be some Chick-fil-A's already in there, which is what has sort of raised the attention of these legislators, right? So State Rep Tony Simone, who introduced the bill, said its purpose is to allow travelers to have a diversity of food options. Look, if you want to eat fried chicken while traveling over the holidays, then Chick-fil-A should be open on Sundays, Simone said, which is really funny. I mean, that actually made me go, yeah, Tony, you like Chick-fil-A too much. This is clearly just about Tony getting his chicken sandwich. So, yeah.
It's so dumb. Look, I agree that it's definitely something the state has every right to say, if you're going to put in a restaurant at one of these things, we just need a restaurant that's going to be open every day.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
This happens. Mall operators do this, right?
Yeah.
Mall operators are like, these are our hours and we need everybody who has a shop or a restaurant in our mall to be open during these hours. Right. This is a normal thing. This is like a lease agreement type thing.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
well, what's Lindsey going to do? Lindsey's declaring war. I love it.
Well, he's probably going to threaten to withhold federal, road money.
Right. From
states or cities or whoever would dare, say that, a restaurant or any, what if the gas station was owned by some Christian group, right? And was like, no, we're not going to open our gas station in the rest stop, right, on Sundays. Like it's a ludicrous idea that the state wouldn't have a requirement like this. It's actually
I just want to
ludicrous.
know. I want to know at what point, Chick-fil-A has become such a touchstone for the Christian right at this point. I want to know at what point they get, just them and Hobby Lobby somehow get included in the holy texts. It just seems like at some point there are going to be new, like, scripture. And lo, they went forth and did order them a chicken sandwich with pickles, and beheld that it was good. It's just such a weird the way that they revere, the way that you are not allowed to do anything that runs afoul of Chick-fil-A is absurd.
Well, and so here's the deal. I highly doubt that the original law or people talking about the law or anything that it meant that it calls Chick-fil-A out by name. Right?
No, of course not.
It says that it's just establishing a requirement that restaurants operating in these, rest stops, that they need to be open on, every day of the week during certain hours, probably. Right. And that's what it said. But of course, the people who are all they're doing is trying to get likes on X, formerly Twitter, right? Or
totally.
Thumbs ups or whatever. I haven't been on there for so fucking long. But that's all they're trying to do. They're doing it to rile people up, right? Lindsey Graham or whoever is posting on his behalf knows full well that this is a reasonable law. But they make it sound like just sort of generally, even The Hill, which is where I got this from, doesn't fully disavow like their tactic here, right? Like they kind of go along with it. They talk strictly about Chick-fil-A, and they talk about how, I mean, the first line is Senator Lindsey Graham declared war Friday over a New York state bill that would require some Chick-fil-A restaurants to operate on Sundays. That first sentence is like, what the fuck? That's outrageous. The news is complicit in like riling people up.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And it's just like, this is so fucking, it's such a non-story, and Lindsey Graham should be made to look like a fool for this stance rather than, oh yeah, he's coming to the defense of good old Chick-fil-A, right?
My favorite things in this sort of thing are when, in the comments section, somebody's like, man, I would never go to New York, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, good, problem solved then. You don't have to worry about it.
You weren't going already.
Yeah, you don't like that place. You've never been there. All you've heard is that it's, a festering crime hole. So don't go.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
Yeah. New York thanks you for your non-attendance.
That's right. All right. So I'm going to close on I'm going to call it a tentative up note. I until the ink is dry on real stuff, I get a little sketchy about celebrating too soon. Mm-hmm. I don't do it in general, but I will say this. Something nice has happened, and that is that this is in Greece. And Greece is a very conservative country for a European country. It is like some crazy percent Orthodox Christian.
Right. Yeah.
And Orthodox Christianity is like an official, I don't know how like if they have an official religion, but they run the show.
Sure.
The Orthodox Church runs the show in Greece.
Okay.
It is just kind of a big deal. So when the Orthodox Church decided to get shitty about some members of the Greek government making mumbles about maybe allowing same-sex marriage, my idea is, well, there goes same-sex marriage in Greece.
Right.
So the way that the Orthodox Church of Greece decided to shit on the idea of same-sex marriage was particularly gross. There have been opinion polls in Greece that suggest that Greeks in general are sort of evenly divided on gay marriage.
Okay.
But when you ask them about gay couples adopting or parental rights of gay couples, they're far less likely to be cool.
Okay.
They're far more likely to be dicks about that.
Okay.
And the church decided to just go all in on that.
Oh, okay.
The church said the position of the Church of Greece remains that children have an innate need and therefore a right to grow up with a male father and a female mother. No amount of social modernization and no amount of political correctness can bypass this. And this is where it gets really choice. Children are not companion pets for those who wish to feel like a guardian, and are not accessories to formalize or make same-sex cohabitation socially acceptable.
Good God.
So yeah, gross.
That's really, really ugly.
Yeah,
That's remarkably ugly, in fact.
They went hardcore ugly.
Like that's like, I'm sorry, Church of Greece, or whatever you are. It's a little passé to be that ugly, right? This like 20 years ago, I'd be like,
yeah, 20 years ago, it's gross.
Yeah.
But now it's like, what the fuck?
Because like,
but then again, if you see how
we just have too many examples now, they're just out in the open, right?
Yeah.
Of like, gay couples or lesbian couples or, whatever, adopting kids or already having kids and raising those kids. And I have a really, dear friend who, with a gay father, and like people are just out there in the world as evidence of like the non-damage that happens from being raised by gay people or lesbians or.
Yeah. And if there is damage, it's generally due to asshole Christians just making their lives miserable.
Well, it's normal damage. Well, okay, that's a good point. That's actually a good point. But like, we're all damaged, right? We're all fucked up by our parents in some way, and like, just your parents being, a mom and a dad, right?
Yeah,
a man and a woman. That's not going to save you from being, screwed up by your parents.
No,
because that's just a given, right?
Gay people are not immune from being people. They are just, they will sort of in general fuck up their kids in the normal amount.
Right. Yeah.
But not more so. And maybe even a little bit less so. I don't know. I haven't seen the figures. But here's what I will say. The Greek government, which is a center-right government currently,
that's
has
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, interesting that they are center-right. They're going forward. They have they have heard the church's objection.
Wow.
But as the government spokesman Pavlos Marinakis said in a quote, we always listen to the opinions of the church with respect, but at the same time, we are implementing our policy and we will listen to the views of society, civil society, the citizenry, institutions, and parties in total.
Yeah. Wow.
So they are pressing forward to legalize gay marriage.
That's remarkable. That's remarkable. Yeah. Okay.
I will celebrate it when it happens,
sure,
and not before.
Right.
But just being willing to say, Greek church, thank you for your input. Go fuck yourself.
Right.
Is a nice start.
Right. Did he add anything about, and that was ugly, man?
Yeah, no. But yikes, Greek church, Greek Orthodox Church. Somebody's wearing their weird hats and robes a little too tight these days. Loosen up. Well, if you have any thoughts or questions about this or any of our stories, please feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. We'd love to hear from you. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around. There's more show coming up.
Well, Frank, you and I have we have played the words of delightful racist and Christo-fascist Nick Fuentes before.
Oh yeah.
He's a self-described incel and master of green screen backgrounds for his dumb videos.
Oh my god.
Trying to make it look less like he's in his mom's basement and more like he's in some sort of New York high-rise with a view of the skyline or something. It's a very stupid background. Anywho, he has some there's going to be anti-Semitism. There's going to be some lovely things. He has a plan for America's future when the conservatives take over again.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
There is an occult element at the high levels of society, and specifically among the Jews. So many of the people that are perpetrating the lies and the destruction on the country, they are evildoers. They are people that worship false gods. They are people that practice magic or rituals or whatever. And more than anything, those people need to be, when we take power, they need to be given the death penalty. Straight up. And I'm far more concerned about that than I am about even non-white people or mass migration. These people that are communing with demons and engaging in this sort of witchcraft and stuff, and these people that are suppressing the name Christ and suppressing Christianity, they must be absolutely annihilated when we take power. This is God's country. This is Jesus' country. This is not the domain of atheists or devil worshippers or perfidious Jews. This is Christ's country.
It's the perfidious Jews, Frank.
Good Lord. Good Lord.
You know, I'm just glad that he's going to execute me too, because I don't want to live in that world that he's excited about. Executions. I'm pretty sure that's what Jesus would want. Isn't it? You know, if you read the Bible, it's right there in America chapter 3 verse 2, where Jesus said unto them, kill everyone that disagrees with me, for sure.
Right. Yeah, I'm sort of letting it sort of wash over me a little.
Yeah.
Right. Just sort of this unimaginable moment, right, that we're in. Right. Like 10 years ago, unimaginable moment.
Yeah.
And probably don't even have to go back that far. Right.
No,
I would say early 2016 is about as far back as I need to go for this to be truly, truly, truly unimaginable. And now it's just like, boy, they're just saying, I can't believe that they're just saying it. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, of course they are, because they have to rally everybody who's been harboring horrible things for so long. Right. Or who can be won over so easily.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know what to say. It's terrifying.
There's nothing good in
It's
that.
truly
There's
terrifying.
nothing okay in that.
I mean, I have to believe that the world that they are imagining will never come to be, right?
No,
but
he is like, his whole thing is he is a troll.
Right.
He's a hyperbolist.
Right.
He's like, he has positioned himself purposefully to be the extreme end of everything.
Sure. Yeah.
But that means that he is part of the vanguard that's pulling people in that direction.
Well, every time it's allowed to be said, it normalizes it. Right.
Yeah.
It makes it to where it's like, you know, I'm like, yeah, it's, 10 years ago, this wasn't even imaginable. And now it's like, yeah, okay. Right. And imagine for the people who, already harbored, some negative feelings toward atheists and Jews and
just anybody,
the occult, witches and whatnot.
Yeah.
like imagine. By
the way,
those people are now they have space to drift, right?
Yeah.
His direction.
Yeah. And they've got a story. They've got a narrative to latch onto.
Yep.
So it's gross. It's not good. And if you, listener out there in the world, hear rhetoric like this from, Uncle so-and-so or whatever, and you're safe to do so, do not allow that to stand.
Right.
I don't care how you, even if it's just walking away and saying, I'm not going to listen to this nonsense, or that's bad talk and I won't expose myself to it, or, yelling them down, whatever it is that you feel you need to do, don't allow that kind of rhetoric to stand. Yeah. It's not acceptable. All right. We have some beautiful people. Let's shift wildly to happy, cool people that are our listeners who have written into us. Robert wrote into us, friend of the show, Robert, who says, "Hey, Frank and Dan, this year I'm celebrating the old holiday in Bolivia, where my partner is from. And guess what? The December solstice is just called summer solstice because it is summer after all." Yes, that's how the equator works or whatever. Although it's weird to celebrate in 20 degrees Celsius weather rather than 20 degrees Fahrenheit weather, it's otherwise just the same, meaning lots of food, and in my case, some good old-fashioned altitude sickness the first few days, given that I'm used to being at or below sea level, not cloud level. That's true. La Paz, Bolivia is the highest capital city in the world.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like over 10,000 feet high.
What? That's really high.
It's very high. Yeah. Be careful when you guys go there. Chew some coca leaves or whatever. But yeah, that's Frank, you weren't here, but Kate and I talked a lot about we mentioned Christmas on the other side of the planet.
Oh yeah.
The bottom of the planet, as we like to call it.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's not, because we were talking about how, when the further away you get from the equator, the more you need a festival of lights when you're in the middle of the darkness.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we asked our southern hemisphere listeners, what do you do in July when it's the darkest that it's going to be?
Right.
Well, Nancy from Australia has an answer for us.
Okay.
Nancy says, "I was listening to your episode, Have a Holly Heathen Christmas, and you were wondering what us Aussies do in the darker, colder months of the year. My partner is American, and he was incredibly confused when I suggested we host a Christmas in July lunch a couple of years ago. It was then that I realized that this was an Australian tradition. Basically, we celebrate Christmas in July, the middle of our winter, in a similar way that you Northern Hemispherians celebrate actual Christmas. We gather with friends and family, and sometimes even workplaces will host an event for staff for lunch or dinner to enjoy all of the comfort foods, roasts, baked goods, and cozy warm drinks that we can't enjoy in December because it's usually scorching hot. Some might choose to do gift swaps, and some just use it as an excuse to gather and be merry. The best part is that unlike Christmas, there's no set date for Christmas in July, so we might attend many Christmas events in the month of July. There also isn't so much pressure to be for that one day to be perfect because you'll likely be attending another event in 2 days' time. There's also less of an expectation to spend it with crappy family that you only see once a year. It's an opt-in kind of celebration, so we get to spend time with people we genuinely like spending time with. It's a great tradition, and it always feels really warm and wholesome. I think that's great. Yeah. I think that's exactly what you should be doing, though. Can we get rid of the Christmas part of it? Can we stop calling... Although, like we said, Christmas, they don't own Christmas. Christmas has become a cultural celebration.
Yeah,
it is not
much more broad than that.
Take the Jesus out of Christmas. Let's get the Christ out of Christmas and just have a lovely celebration. Another thing that Kate and I talked about were maybe was this you and I? Who did I talk about Christmas songs and Jewish composers with?
That was me.
Kate. That was you.
Yes.
Okay. So this is, and you remember that I think we mentioned, also the Kate and I mentioned Tim Minchin's song.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
White Wine in the Sun, because that's one of my favorites. Anyway, this is from Chris in Melbourne, Australia, who says, "Hi, gents. I was just listening to your latest podcast about Christmas songs written by Jews, and I thought you might like to know that one of the biggest Christmas songs this year in the UK is from the Doctor Who Christmas special, The Goblin Song.
Oh.
This song is all about eating babies, the Goblin Christmas dinner, music by Murray Gold, a Jew, and lyric by Russell T. Davies, who is gay, with all the proceeds going to the Children in Need charity. If you could please let the Christian nut jobs in your parts know, that would be awesome." There you go. We got some lovely, some more Jewish Christmas music about eating babies, I guess. So,
oh wow, that's not helping the case necessarily, but
yeah, it's not. It sounds fun though.
Yeah,
exactly. I didn't go and listen to it myself. I'm not a big Whovian myself.
Ah, yes.
I prefer the more grammatically correct Doctor Whom.
God.
Your exasperation delights me. I'm just going to say that. All right. Well, we've got some folks to thank. I'm going to start us off with Christopher, who is now a deacon in our pretend magic religion priesthood, who has chosen to give to us weekly or monthly rather on PayPal. Thank you so much, Christopher. Enjoy your pretend magic powers. That's amazing. And you've got somebody.
Yes, we have 2 new patrons on Patreon. We have a new deacon by the name of Blurblar.
Blurblar!
Welcome aboard, Blurblar. And we also have a new teacher by the name of Michael. So thank you to the both of you, well, to the 3 of you. Yes. For joining up this week and supporting the show. If you'd like to be like these people, and
why wouldn't you?
Please go to our website, thankgodimatheist.com, and click on the support tab, and there's options there. And as always, Dan, we have our Lord and Savior to thank, our top donor, Davis.
More show coming up. Well, Frank,
Dan,
the Catholic League, meaning that one guy who is the Catholic League, Bill Donahue.
Oh, Jesus, this guy.
He happens to know how you and I feel.
Well, this is like his newsletter, I guess, his blog post for the week, his inspiration to his fellow Catholics, and the title of which is "Christmas Joy Eludes Atheists." And he goes through this whole thing. It's just, you know, he really, yeah, like you were saying, he's gotten into our heads, and he really understands who we are.
He gets us.
He says, "This is the most joyful time of the year, especially for Christians. It is not a good time for dogmatic secularists, many of whom are deeply unhappy. If anything, Christmas brings out the worst in them."
Oh,
so
well, good news for me though. I don't think I'm a dogmatic secularist, so I think I'm safe. I don't know about you.
Oh, but Dan, protest as you may, he knows better. He knows what you are, Dan.
He sees me when I'm sleeping. He knows when I'm awake.
Bill Donahue.
I don't know if you've ever seen him. He does have a
Bill Donahue is coming.
He's got a bit of a Santa Claus look to him.
Yeah, no, we don't need to get into the whole thing. It's actually not terribly long. But he says this is what they believe. There is no God. There is no sin. There is no higher purpose. There is no hell. There is no heaven.
Check, and check.
Okay, so I guess he understands that part of it.
He got that part right. But then he goes on, to say, at a
time when most people are smiling, caroling, dancing, and hugging, these deeply embittered Americans are in a state of depression.
How many people are dancing at Christmas time? I want to know who in his life is dancing. Did you dance for Christmas when you were a believer, Frank?
Let's see. Dancing at Christmas. No, that was not part of the normal Christmas activity. Hugging.
I think he's literally not even paying attention to his own writing. He's just like, what are happy things? Everybody's caroling still, right? We're all doing that, right?
Yeah. I mean, Chat GPT probably wrote this, right? Like,
well, that's probably true.
He says they have no idea why they were born. We just happen to exist, right?
Yeah,
sin is
correct.
Sin is a fiction, they believe, which explains why they don't regard what the 10 Commandments prescribe to be of any consequence. We were put here on earth for no other reason than to satisfy our base cravings.
We weren't put here on earth, Bill. You just said we don't know why we were born. That means we don't think we were put here on earth.
Anyway, he just goes on and on and on and on. And I was like, like what's the call to action here? Right. What is his message to Catholics, like about the non-believers? Like how, like is it about reaching out? Is it about loving? Is it about putting an arm around one of these deeply unhappy, miserable people? Right.
And I just want to interrupt you to say, listeners at home, I want you to know Frank literally was reading through this and said to me, so wait, what is the call to action? And then skipped ahead in the thing because that's how Frank feels, or how Frank thinks. I love this about you, Frank, that you were like, hey, I think there may have even been a glimmer of hope in you that there was a call to action that involved anything you could consider Christ-like or kind or like, 'tis the season to be like, let's bring them in from the cold and shelter them and give them a cookie or anything.
Right. I mean, he's a big time Catholic. He believes in Christian love, doesn't he?
That much is not clear to me, but go on.
Okay. So this is how he wraps the whole thing up. He says, a more unrealistic and dour perception of reality would be hard to find. No wonder they bask in negativity. Avoid them if you can this Christmas season. Merry Christmas.
Wow.
That's literally avoid them if you can. Hey, but Merry Christmas to y'all.
Also, let's talk about who basks in negativity every Christmas season. Let's just talk about like none of my Christian friends, none of my atheist friends are out here like I have friends who have like seasonal affective disorder and feel depressed this time of year.
Sure.
But I mean, obviously, Bill Donahue knows for a fact that no Christians are depressed in the middle of fucking winter. It just doesn't happen. They're joyful. They're all joyful.
Well, yeah, because they're so busy smiling, caroling, dancing, and hugging, right?
It's the dancing that does it. The dancing is really what makes everybody so happy. But like, we get a little bit grumpy when Christians inevitably, grumpily, angrily, like trollingly try to force their Christianity on us.
Right.
Which they do yearly. They never don't do it. They constantly like, every year it starts earlier and earlier that Fox News will trot out the War on Christmas stories, which are all about trivial things like the color of a Starbucks cup. They are the ones who start the negativity.
Right.
They are the ones who bask in the negativity. And when we get mad about it, or when we are like, hey guys, maybe chill, it's not a big deal. That's when they tried out this shit about how, see, atheists are miserable this time of year. Not going on to point out that like it's because of their shitty behavior.
Yeah. Yeah. If they could just actually be good Christians, maybe we'd be happier.
Yeah, it literally, and here's the other thing is that it is such a trope in believer circles. I see this all the time in Mormonism, where like leaving the church is the worst thing you can do, and you're going like you can't possibly be happy. Every atheist is a miserable sack of shit,
right?
And not happy at all. And yes, there is what George Bernard Shaw had to say about that, which is the fact that an atheist is less happy than a believer is no more to the point than a drunkard is happier than a sober person.
Right.
But it's also not true.
All right.
It's just bullshit. There are plenty of sad and struggling atheists, sure. But it's and some of it is because society rejects atheists. I mean, we just heard Nick Fuentes talking about how he wants us executed. So
yeah, like, that put a smile on my face. Right?
Things aren't great,
right,
for us,
right.
But also, no, most of my atheist friends are pretty fucking happy. So
yeah, well, I think there's I don't want to speak too generally or whatnot, but just the whole like, we're living our best lives,
right?
Hopefully, right? Like, hopefully we're in a position where we're able to just, because we've been able to throw off the dogma and the all the dumb, needless, and damaging rules about how we live our lives, how we do sex, how we whatever, right?
That don't apply to us personally at all.
Right.
And only serve to make us feel like shit.
And instead we, like that seems like a better recipe for happiness, right? Is just acknowledging that this is our one moment, right? It's right now, right? Yeah. And striving for some reward in heaven, right? That sounds kind of miserable, right?
Well, and that's one of the things that you haven't said yet, but you and I talked about in our lead up to this was that Bill Donahue talks about how when we die, he says, when we die, none of us will be held. This is him giving the atheist perspective,
right?
He says, when we die, none of us will be held accountable for our misdeeds, whether guilty of greed or genocide, and those who have behaved admirably, in some cases altruistically, have done so for naught.
Yeah. What happens on earth stays on earth, which is a great tagline. Yeah.
The tacit admission there being, I do good only in the pursuit of afterworldly reward.
Right. Or avoidance of punishment. Yeah.
Right.
Which I don't know. I don't feel like if that's why we know that if that's why you're doing it, you really you're not doing it for the right reasons.
You're not a good person.
Yeah.
You're not doing it to be a good person. You're doing it because you're afraid of hell and you want, brownie points after you die.
Yeah.
So yeah, what he's admitting is that when an atheist does good, it's just because they're a good person. What an idiot.
Yeah.
So
what a chump.
What a dope. So there you go.
Because again, I mean, what it also says is that without the constraints of his belief, right? He would be out murdering people.
Yeah.
Right.
Or at very least not doing good for anyone, which clearly is not his priority anyway. Like literally,
I think
as
that's
we point
been
out,
made clear through the years that
Yeah.
Bill Donahue is a piece of shit.
well,
So,
yeah, he basks in negativity
yeah.
is what he does.
Oh, poor guy. So here's my
guy.
takeaway, Dan. We need to reach out to people like Bill.
Someone give him a cookie, please.
give him a hug. He says the season's about hugs. He clearly isn't getting them.
Yeah.
Encourage him to dance. He
someone
needs to
please
dance.
give
Poor
him some
guy.
holiday cheer.
Smile at him, maybe.
I'm gonna sort of back away from your call to hug him because gross. But do maybe provide him with a baked good or two, just in the spirit of the season.
Yeah, someone needs to do something for this guy because he's clearly very unhappy.
Yeah, poor guy. All right, friends. Well, listen, if you would like to tell us some ways that we can all embrace Bill Donahue, let's not do that. But if you'd like to tell us anything about this or any of our segments on the show, write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. We'd love to hear from you. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click the like button.
And if you'd like to join one of our members-only lounges, you can do so by going to our website, thankgodimatheist.com/members-only.
Hey, thanks so much to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their fine music.
And thanks to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thanks to all y'all for tuning in. We sure do appreciate you.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.